Chapter 11. Memories Preserved. Pax Lorne's breath hitched as the temple's ancient stones seemed to close in, each echo a grim reminder. 0.1 hours left before the memory erasure would obliterate everything she fought to protect. Her hands trembled, fingers brushing the cold, carved glyphs on the altar, symbols promising salvation if only she could unlock their secret in time. The temple's hollow silence pressed down. Every second lost was a step closer to irreversible disaster. She had to move, had to find the final key buried deep within these walls. Survival wasn't just about her anymore. The community's future hinged on cracking this ancient code before the clock ran out. But shadows shifted behind the pillars, and a low rumble vibrated through the floor. Obstacles weren't just in her mind. The temple itself resisted. Time was bleeding away, and every heartbeat screamed, "Move now, or lose everything." Pax darted toward the inner sanctum, the tunnel narrowing into a suffocating chokehold of stone. Her pulse hammered, sweat slicking her palms as she fumbled with the rusted latch on the heavy door. A grinding creak echoed, but the mechanism seized, refusing to budge.
"Damn it!"
she hissed, fingers slipping. Her mind raced minutes, maybe seconds, ticking down. She slammed her shoulder into the door, the impact hollow and ineffective. Somewhere deep in the temple, a distant howl vibrated like a warning bell.
"No time for this,"
she muttered, scanning the walls for another entry. A narrow slit offered a desperate alternative, but it was barely wide enough. Her lungs burned as she squeezed inside, scraping skin raw on jagged stone. Each movement ate precious seconds. Outside, footsteps thundered closer, the temple's guardians closing in. The clock was bleeding, and so was her hope. Collapsed against a cold wall, Pax's breath came in ragged bursts, the weight of failure crushing her chest. The glyphs remained indecipherable, the temple's secrets locked tight as the final seconds ticked down to 0.1 hours. She swallowed dry air, the taste bitter with defeat. The distant rumble surged to a roar, the temple awakening against her.
"We're running out of time,"
she gasped, voice barely above a whisper. A sudden crack split the silence. The floor beneath her trembled, shards of stone cascading into shadowed depths. The path forward had crumbled, and the memory erasure loomed closer than ever. Pax forced herself to rise, every muscle screaming, heart pounding a frantic rhythm of survival.
"No turning back,"
she whispered, eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. The nightmare was just beginning. She should have said no. She'd known it even as the word yes left her mouth. The regret stung sharper than the cold wind biting through her coat. Waiting here in the freezing silence, she wondered if the choice had been hers at all. Every second counted. But her mind was clouded with doubt. Was this the only way? The icy stones beneath her fingers felt like the last tether to reality, anchoring her in a moment she couldn't escape. The distant echoes of footsteps and whispers played tricks on her senses, each sound a reminder of what was at stake. The clock's silent tick echoed in her ears, an unrelenting rhythm that matched her racing heart. No more hesitation, no more secrets. Orin's boots scraped the uneven cobbles, each step a muted crunch against frost-hardened stone. The cold worked through the thin leather of his gloves, every surface around him biting with rough frost. He paused beneath the skeletal arches of the long-abandoned warehouses, their hollow frames whispering secrets in the wind. A sudden cough cracked the stillness, sharp and raw, scattering the silence like broken glass.
"You hear that?"
Orin's voice was low, his breath fogging in the frigid air. A figure emerged from the shadows near a weathered stall, the muffled voices growing clearer, layered with urgency. The faint scent of burnt leather grew stronger here, wrapping around him like a warning. He pressed a gloved finger to his lips, eyes scanning the dim outlines of the square's public architecture, each weathered beam and frozen crack a silent witness to forgotten stories. The metallic tang on his tongue sharpened, mingling with the salt-heavy breeze that teased the edges of his collar. The clatter of carts ground to a halt, the sudden stillness amplifying the faint scrape of wood on stone. Orin's ears caught the subtle shift, the distant creak of a weathered stall sign swinging erratically in the wind. Voices edged with desperation floated closer, fragmented sentences swallowed by the square's cavernous emptiness.
No time.
One hissed, breath ragged and visible.
It's almost gone.
The taste of salt thickened, coated his tongue with a gritty residue as his pulse quickened. Fingers numb, he traced the frost-rimmed edge of a nearby crate, cold and rough under his touch. The briny air carried the faint, sickly sweetness of decaying seaweed, a reminder of tides long receded yet never forgotten. Shadows lengthened under the skeletal arches, the cold breeze stirring brittle scraps of paper across the cracked cobblestones, whispering secrets only Orin seemed to catch.
We can't wait any longer.
The second voice urged, sharper, more frantic. Orin stepped forward, boots slipping slightly on an icy patch, a rough scrape rasping under him. The sound cracked like a threat, pulling his attention to the labyrinth of frostbitten textures around Memory's Cross. His tongue tasted the acrid tang of burnt leather again, a scent carried by the cold wind threading through the hollowed arches. The distant cries of seagulls sliced through the muffled voices, a haunting melody weaving through the square's desolation. Orin's breath came faster, each inhale tasting colder, sharper, like shards of ice grinding in his throat. He clenched his fists, the rough texture of frostbite stinging his skin, grounding him in the moment. The square's atmosphere pressed down, isolating yet alive, as if the very air mourned the loss of stories etched into its stones. A sudden gust swept across the square, stirring the sickly sweet scent of seaweed and thickening the metallic tang on Orin's tongue. The clatter of carts resumed, distant but insistent, their wooden wheels groaning over the frozen cobbles. Orin's eyes darted to the weathered stalls, their faded paint peeling under layers of frost. Voices rose briefly in a sharp exchange, words lost under the howl of the cold breeze, threading through the arches. His skin prickled where the frostbite-tinged air brushed his exposed neck, each sensation a reminder of time slipping away. The taste of salt lingered, sharp and unyielding, mingling with the acrid hint of smoke carried from a nearby, forgotten fire. Orin's gaze locked on a cracked stone at his feet, slick with ice and reflecting the dim winter light, a fragile mirror to the crumbling path ahead.
Listen.
Orin whispered, voice rough from the cold. The square's hollow silence seemed to lean closer, amplifying the faint scrape of stone against stone as he shifted his weight. The metallic tang sharpened, coating his mouth in the stakes pressing down on him. Nearby, the faint murmur of voices threaded through the cold air, punctuated by the distant clatter of carts and the plaintive cry of seagulls circling the frost-laden square. His fingers brushed against the rough, frost-bitten texture of a wooden post, the cold seeping through even the thick fabric of his gloves. The scent of burnt leather and salt wrapped around him like a shroud, the bitter air pressing tight against his chest. Time whispered its cruel countdown, each breath a shard of ice threatening to freeze resolved to stone. Orin inhaled sharply, the bitter metallic tang of the cold air pressing into his lungs. The distant clatter of carts and the lonely cry of seagulls faded into a muffled silence, broken only by the faint whisper of frost on stone and the slow, rhythmic pulse of his own heartbeat. The snow-dusted rocks under his boots felt solid, real, an anchor in the swirling chaos. The dark of abandoned warehouses stretched long and dark, their silence a testament to the coming storm of loss. The faint scent of burnt leather lingered stubbornly on the air, a reminder that some fires refuse to die. His fingers curled around a small shard of ice, cold and jagged, a fragment of memories frozen in time. The clock's silent countdown continued, relentless and unyielding as Orin's gaze hardened, and he prepared to face whatever darkness lay ahead.